Yeah, so we founded this company back in 2013, listed on the exchange in 16, and our fundamental goal was to provide a transparent service to electricity consumers. And there isn't a person that I've met yet that doesn't consume electricity. So we have the ability to touch everyone and work with everyone. But the key for us is that we want to focus on a market that's probably underserviced. And when I say underserviced, they receive electricity, because we all do, but they probably go unforgotten, or innovation has left them behind, or innovation may not be applied due to their structures that work within those communities. So I suppose the key messages today, or the key takeaways of the objective of our discussion or introduction today, is really to explain what a great opportunity it is to invest in LPE. We're a junior energy retailer. We're in a $32 billion market. We're seeing a massive shift in the way that the energy market is now functioning. The incumbents, Origin, AGL, are losing market share because small retailers are coming along, and we're more innovative, we're more motivated, and we're not bogged down by bureaucratic processes, although we are listed. One of the key things from us is that we are a growing energy retailer in a large market. We offer a competitive advantage with core capabilities, and our growth and strategy outlook is really strong. There's a very long pipeline of opportunity that presents us. So we are an energy retailer, we are authorised, we can sell electricity to anyone and everyone if we choose to, but we focus on our core market. You know, if we look at southeast Queensland, that sandpit's pretty big. There's plenty of opportunities that exist in southeast Queensland that can make us a quite successful company. You know, we also focus on northern New South Wales and as far down as probably Gosford, because regional people are a lot easier to deal with, and you can get access to these communities when you need to. So we do specialise in strata communities, and I'll explain them a bit further down in the presentation, but there's a core reason why we look towards those communities is because endorsement or from communities goes a long way to obtaining customers. So once you get into a community, and a community through their committee or their ownership group put you forward as their preferred supplier for that community, customers tend to come on board. So it's easier to dislodge them from their incumbents, the larger players, and it's easier to maintain them. Because at the end of the day, an energy retailer's core focus is creating sticky customers. So what we don't want to be spending money on is actually obtaining customers continuously. We want them to stay with us, and we've got some clear strategies on how we can keep that. So to date, since we really started and getting serious about being in business in 2016 when we listed, we've got 21,000 customers. So we've seen consistent growth over the last 3 years to demonstrate that our systems, our processes, our ability to attract new customers is pretty strong. So, you know, it's a good starting point, but that's, you know, it's all it is. So a bit of the boring stuff. Our capital structure, we've got 50 million shares on issue, and our market capitalisation as of yesterday was around 37. So customer growth to date, you know, when we sort of kicked off in 16, we got around 7,000 customers in our first year, and we've consistently brought on 7,000 customers every year after that. This is our growth year. We've got the customers in the bank now to keep funding our position, the backbone. So we're now looking at pushing our customer uptake well beyond 40,000, so that we are a real player in the market. That really gives us a strong position, and with the majority of those being in southeast Queensland. So our competitive advantage. So one of the key things, as we all know, you're all consumers of electricity, and I'm sure you all get harassed by energy retailers trying to convince you to switch or come across to them. It can be quite annoying. I get harassed myself quite regularly from our friends in Mumbai. But eventually, you know, it's really what drives you to buy electricity. Do you really care who your provider is? What are the main factors that drive change? And for us, it's innovation. Now, we're driven to actually make a material difference to the way consumers pay for their energy, or the way that they would perceive they receive their energy. So there's got to be something in it for the consumer. And we focused early on in our piece in better networks, which I'll explain a bit further. But for us, our core thing is innovation. We need to take the new technologies that are emerging, our last presentation touched on batteries and other technologies, those types of technologies, and take it to and apply it in the strata community market. So what we can do is, as an innovative small retailer, is we can be nimble and we can drive change and create innovative ways to reduce consumers' electricity costs. One of the key reasons why consumers adopt our services is we're Australian based. And when I say that, we have all of our services are onshore. We have our customer contact centres in Queensland. We employ locals, and I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with the Queensland psyche, but they love Queenslanders up there. It's everything for Queenslanders. So any business that's a Queensland business gets the support of Queenslanders. So we've really played on that. And one of the key things for us is making sure our community, our customer bank, know that when they pick up the phone and they have an inquiry or have a complaint or whatever it may be, that they're ringing someone in Queensland and they're talking to a Australian customer contact centre, because that is a key driver for some of the decision-making processes when it comes to change. So we have a relentless focus on delivering value to our customers. So it's always, you might have seen some recent legislation changes where the incumbent retailers would focus on deception and basically hope that you didn't realise that your energy prices are going up. So you would be confused by their bills. One of the keys for us is to give value to our customers, to make sure that they understand that their price point is a genuine price point and that it's not misleading or confusing. So the whole discounting structure, which is on the way out the window, being abolished, we've never adopted that misleading discounting from a price point that no one understands. So we want to be transparent and offer simple pricing structures so that consumers can understand what their monthly, quarterly electricity costs are. Because a lot of our customer base don't have high disposable incomes, so small energy price increases or not paying bills within a 24-hour period can have a material outcome to the way they function. And we really want to focus on making sure that every one of our customers appreciates the hard work and the service that we deliver. So by maintaining good pricing structures, good customer relationships, they will stick around and be long-term customers. So when they move house eventually, and some of our customer bases in strata are rental, they will transition every 12 to 24 months. When they move, they take us with them. So they reconnect us at their next premise. Because we have a really strong belief that once you have dragged a customer away from the large incumbent Origins or AGLs, and you've taken that brand out of their head, that they will stay with you, and that when they change, they become loyal to you, and that the big companies have lost them. And you can see that there are a lot of smaller retailers coming into the market that are dragging those customers away. So what is our core target market is strata schemes. So what a strata scheme is simply is a collective of buildings or a high-rise building, townhouses, small communities that you'll see more and more of them, especially in Victoria and Queensland. Majority of new developments these days are strata related. So they're apartments or townhouses, they could be vertical, doesn't really matter. We'll find a way of getting in there. So if you look at our target, there's 45,000 schemes in southeast Queensland, and that represents 470,000 customers. So that is a very big pool of opportunity that exists. New South Wales, outside of the Greater Sydney region or out of the CBD sort of inner city, there's 76,000 schemes representing 800,000 customers. So it's a really, really big market. And what we've tapped into through our ongoing relationships with strata managers that manage these schemes or the committees is good, long, strong relationships with decision makers, with referrers, because it is a really hard road to get the attention of strata communities. But once you've got it, they are very loyal to their suppliers and they're very loyal customers. Plus, servicing body corporates is a very strong, there's no credit risk attached to it. They have to pay their bills. So we have a big market, and to maintain our position in that market, we need to be very innovative. And innovation is what's going to drive our success as a retailer. So one of the key things for us is our value to our customers is, to our business, should say, is recurring revenues from long-term contracts. when we go and work with a strata community, we like to invest assets in infrastructure, be it electrical infrastructure, metering, solar PV systems, hot water plants. And what that creates for us is long-term sticky customers with strong recurring revenues. So we try to, in a way, guilt our customers into coming to us. We provide them financial upside. They get a price point that's probably far better than what they could attract on their own. And in return, we get long-term sticky customers. So we simply sell electricity. It's very boring. You know, every month we get data in, we put it on a bill and send it back out. It's not rocket science, but it's a needs-based commodity, and everyone has to consume it. So that's our key business, is selling electricity and also providing utility solutions across strata communities and the communities around them. So just quickly, one of our key products is embedded networks. We act as a retailer, no different to the larger retailers inside these markets, selling electricity to consumers within high-rise buildings. An embedded network is simply, instead of having 100 connection points to the grid, you have one connection point. That one connection point provides cheaper network charges, which we pass on to the consumer. And the upside for the consumer is they may save $250+ a year. We get their loyalty from providing that service. Other than that, we buy and sell electricity, as do other retailers in the same function. So our growth strategy, and where do we go from here, and how do we really accelerate growth? You know, the last 3 years have been good to prove our systems up and get us to the point we are today. Last year was a really big landmark year for us. We needed funding as we spend a lot of money on these communities through capital infrastructure. And we worked tirelessly with BlackRock to secure a $30 million debt facility, and that debt facility enables us to grow and to invest in our communities for our communities to reinvest in us. So off the back of that funding with BlackRock, which has been a landmark moment for us, we expanded our sales team. So we've gone from 5 people in the field to 32 people in the field. So we're extremely active in attracting anyone that consumes electricity. So if you're living in Queensland, I'm sure you may or may not have come across us, but feel free to tap me up at the end of the meeting and I'm happy to bring you over. But we now have structures in place and good sales mechanisms and sales processes to drive customers towards us. We have a sales team that specialise in dealing with our strata managers to sign up embedded networks or put hot water plants into buildings. We have sales teams that are in the field selling solar to strata communities, signing up the consumers within those communities through the benefit of creating sustainable communities, which is it's a really big key now. I don't know if many of you live in stratas, but one of the common discussions in committee meetings is, how do we become more sustainable? How do we have an impact in the way that we consume energy or where we source our energy from? And one of our key solution to that is creating or providing solar, behind-the-meter solar solutions to these strata communities. And typically, why a strata hasn't done this previously is there's a slight argument over who gets what roof space or what happens with the roof. If someone puts a bigger system on, we enable everyone to benefit from solar, which makes it fair and equitable for all. It's just another way for us to help drive customers towards us and create sticky customers and guilt and value. So our growth will be, as I said earlier, we'll take on any customer. We don't mind. We deal with direct mums and dads in the traditional housing market, small to medium enterprises, be it attached to strata communities or outside strata communities. We really focus on providing communal power, which, you know, there's 46,000 opportunities alone in southeast Queensland. And also providing that behind-the-meter solar solution to reduce their costs, to create sticky customers, to create sustainable communities, enabling them to build towards protecting themselves in the future as energy prices do what they do, and creating them, you know, filling in their needs, I suppose. And centralised hot water plants. Most high-rise buildings don't have their own individual hot water plants. We install these systems to gain, again, another mode to get customers on board. So one of the key things for the outlook, I suppose, for the coming year, I've just got some more notes here as I was sitting there listening to the last presentation, 5-minute warning. we've got really strong teams now that support us. We've got great sales mechanisms. We've got great billing systems. We've invested heavily in our back of house structures so that we can deliver growth and fast growth. We're a real business. At the end of the day, we send out bills every day. We're boring, but we're a needs-based, recession-proof business. We just send out bills to people that have a needs-based commodity or product. The financial year coming, we plan on doubling our customer growth. We want to put on an extra 20,000 customers, hence the reason why we've grown our sales team. And that sales team growth will enable us to comfortably deliver double our customer numbers. And in doing that, we expect to see our revenues grow by about 80 million. So again, thank you very much for your audience. Not as exciting as the previous, but we're a recession-proof, needs-based commodity in a new market of growing small retailers looking to create sustainability through our communities so that we create sticky, long-term customers. Thank you.
I'm going to invite you to ask questions of Damien. Here's one in the front row, or almost front row.
Damien, good to see you make some great inroads. The big retailers, do they have similar programs for strata-titled communities so that the electricity doesn't get measured sort of per unit or 50 times for the 50 households that are in the strata-titled?
So all retailers play in this space. It's not new. We're not reinventing the wheel. Origin have always been in this space. I suppose the difference is that it's a very hard road to get these customers, and we've grown from 0 communities to 289 in 3 years. So yeah, we're on the same competitive space. I feel we're a bit more nimble in dealing with communities because every community has their own emotional needs, and we tend to pander to those needs. Whereas if you're in an Origin network, they'll just charge you as much as they can and hope you don't whinge. And
water, is that a big central hot water system that you meter water to each unit or something?
Yes, that's correct. And then that's basically around the fact that most communities don't have the space for their hot water plant. I'm sure that in some stage we've all lived in that strata where hot water's charged per litre. You know, it's one of those unavoidable services. We just want to be a part of it so that by having a hot water plant or ownership of the hot water plant, it also gives us access to those electricity consumers as well.
In your presentation, you mentioned that you're going to double your customer base. Now, how are you going to do that, and what will it cost you to do so?
Yeah, so it's about a $4.5 million investment in sales team. It's just the hard road of just... so what we'll do is if we talk about the tiered approach, we have a salesperson that goes to strata managers, gets us appointments with committees. We have a salesperson that goes in and sells the outcome to the committee. And then we have sweepers that go through those communities to sign up all the consumers within the community. Once we're endorsed by a community to sell that community electricity, the process is pretty quick. Same with the solar assets. We will lobby the community on the benefit of our solar asset. For example, they're paying 19 cents a kilowatt hour for traditional grid supply. Our solar asset value is 13.41 cents. So there's a financial value for them to sign up. Plus, there's that added sustainability piece. All of these strata communities are looking to become more sustainable and deliver sustainable energy solutions to their communities. What they don't have is access to money and access to the retail mechanism to enable all consumers to benefit. That's where we come in. That is something, unless they're in the room, that our larger competitors aren't doing because it's hard and it's ugly. Hard's good, by the way. That means not many people are having a crack.
I just want to follow up the water installation. Are you coupling that with the solar-based water installation to take the cost down and essentially sell that solar-powered water to the customers?
We're actually funny enough, we do have a zero carbon hot water plant. It's using a heat pump system though, because the evacuated tube or the exchange process, you don't have enough roof space to achieve that outcome. So what we'll do is a heat pump. Heat pumps are extremely energy efficient. We're running out, there's a couple of projects now, one in Gosford, one in Brisbane, where we will actually put a solar system on to heat the heat pump or to fuel the heat pump from electricity perspective, put in more storage, so that way it's pretty much 100% renewable.
Okay, and quick follow-up. You're sourcing some of your wholesale from renewable suppliers and using that as a selling advantage as well?
Not really, because it's not necessarily cheaper than the wholesale market. So the best way to provide financial benefit to our consumers is asset ownership. So we'll put the asset on the roof, we'll sell the electricity to the consumer behind the meter, which gives them the financial benefit, but we'll also have exported value as a retailer. We'll settle through the market, which gives us another hedge that we can further on-sell to consumers in other buildings that can't access renewables, but we are not dealing with large solar farms at this stage.
Okay, thanks.
There's a question up
Thanks, Damien, for your presentation. Due diligence exposure, I actually chair an owners corporation for
in Queensland or whereabouts, Victoria?
I beg your pardon?
In Victoria or whereabouts?
In Victoria,
Okay.
160 odd apartments. Key element down here is we now have a regulated minimum price for electricity for retail residents. Do you have that in Queensland or New South Wales?
Correct. It's Australia-wide now. Victoria's a bit rogue, as we all are for being Victorians, but in Victoria it's set at a lower base of 18 or 19 cents a kilowatt hour. In Queensland and New South Wales it's around that 22, but under the federal changes to try and stamp out this discounting structures, there's a price structure that now is the minimum that you can charge, or maximum you can charge, I should say.
Effectively, we actually had our embedded network agree to give us the minimum price, so we negotiated direct with them on behalf of all our
Who is your supplier? Who's that supplier there for yourself?
Win.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's ugly.
But the other thing,
Do you feel like you're getting a good price? Because ultimately, embedded
we're getting
networks.
a lot better price than people were getting previously.
So, do you mind if I ask what your price is, and I'll tell you how good it
I
is?
couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I do know that as the building, we get a better price than the residents.
So typically, you should be around 25 to 30 off the best discounted price in the market if they're being fair to you.
Yeah, I realise.
I can hope that no one from Win's in the audience, because they may not be.
Yeah, but because we're negotiating on people who don't reside in the country, it's a very complicated process. The other part I noticed with solar, unfortunately, Victoria doesn't get quite as much sunshine as Queensland. So one of the things we've discovered, if anybody's involved, is solar on the top owned by the actual building is going to enable us to basically cover our internal costs for all our electricity that we drive with lifts and all of the other things that are costing us lots of money.
Yeah, no, I suppose that's the benefit. Not everyone can access solar. Not everyone has the funds. You know, the sunshine thing, like obviously grand final day for Richmond supported the sun was shining, but apart from that, Victoria's pretty dull. So I think Queensland does have a lot of sunlight, but it's also a lot warmer too. So theoretically, solar doesn't necessarily work in heat. Riverina, New South Wales is probably one of the better areas for harvesting solar. But you know, at the end of the day, it's about enabling communities an ability to reduce costs, create sustainability, and feel like they're doing their little bit, because there's not too many strata communities out there that can access it.
No, well, we already had where the building was built with solar panels.
Ah, good.
And we're actually adding some. So
good. Thank you.
Stay down. I'm just going to see. Is there any other question from the audience? Yes. There's a microphone coming.
You mentioned it's going to cost you another $4 million to double that sales revenue.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that additional sales revenue is going to flow right through to your bottom line?
Yeah. So because it's obviously, there's two things to consider with the way that we function. We are seasonally adjusted based on our September quarter is pretty sad no one consumes energy, especially in Queensland, because it's quite mild. So I suppose that'll generate the majority of our revenue. I think I'm not really going to market, can I? I can't say too much, but yeah, it'll have a very big impact on it. Put it that way.
I've got one final question. When you said you've dragged customers away from the big incumbents, and now you've got their loyalty, but they're not going to enjoy losing customers either. So, do you have a sense of what your competitors are doing in terms of they're going to try and drag those customers back?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that every day. But what we're seeing now is that there is a shift away. Once upon a time, people thought that the Origin and AGLs of the world were the only ones that could supply your energy. And if they didn't supply your energy, hey, something happened, you wouldn't get it at all. But what they're doing now is their behaviour has become a detriment to them. So what we're seeing is, they draw you back with a sham discount, but 6 months later they put up their price, and then the customer's again looking. So what we're seeing now is consumers are saying, you know what, we know the behaviour of the big boys, we're happy. We're not always the cheapest in the direct market space, it's the traditional market, but they'll stay now because they know the benefits of what we add and know that we're quite transparent and honest. Most people that are shifting on price point all the time will just keep churning, and they're not the customers that we're trying to attract. But the way we pitch our business to our consumers is the value. We explain the processes of the incumbents. Yeah, and I think if you read the statistics on the AR, those two large customers are losing 3 to 4% per annum minimum. So, this is a problem for them, the way they've treated customers in the past.